Welcome back, or welcome if you're just joining us. It's the France 24 debate, and we are looking at the crisis in Congo. President Kabila refusing to step down, even though his mandate ended Monday midnight. The government insists that they got the okay from the Constitutional Court to take the country to elections in April of 2018. The opposition says no way. The Catholic Church is trying to get all sides around the table. With us from Geneva, Bénédicte Kumbi-Njoko, spokesperson for the Don't Be Blind This Time citizen movement. Welcome back. Welcome back as well to Michael Chimbangu. He is with the Association for Sustainable Development in Congo, joins us from London. In Dakar, Senegal, Pascal Kambale, human rights attorney, and here in the studio, Julia Wono of Internet Without Borders. We had invited the government to take part. We were unable to get them to agree to come on, making the rounds on social media, images of an opposition member of parliament. His name is Franck Diongo. He appeared in court wearing a blood-stained shirt. He's reportedly being treated in hospital while still under arrest. He's accused of having sequestered 3 soldiers at his home. Kabila's this image then making the rounds, but also at the same time we have seen that the other big item of news that we didn't tell you about was that freshly appointed cabinet, part of an October deal that was struck between the ruling party and a fringe of opposition groups, this enabling the president to continue on until that April 2018 deadline. So April 2018, way too far in the future, says the longtime head of the opposition, 84-year-old Etienne Tshisekedi, calling for peaceful resistance.
Je lance un appel solennel.
I am launching a solemn appeal
D'abord au peuple congolais
to the Congolese people to no longer recognize the illegitimate and illegal authority of Mr. Joseph Kabila, and to exterior partners and the international community to no longer deal with Joseph Kabila in the name of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
No longer deal with Joseph Kabila. Michael Chimangu, is that realistic?
Well, in a way, as a way of putting pressure on Kabila, it is worth noting that Kabila has been in power for now almost 15 years. It was obviously there's supposed to be election. He's supposed to have left power by by December the 20th, and he hasn't done that. And part of it is because he doesn't want to leave. So I believe it is right to put pressure on Kabila, and one way of doing that is by not acknowledging him as the legitimate president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, because so far he's not showing any positive sign. He's not really helping the situation. We've seen him, whilst the Catholic Church is trying to find a consensus, we see Kabila cracking down and arresting more people. While at the negotiation, the opposition were asking for signs of, let's say, confidence-building measures, amongst which the release of prisoners. But what we've seen is the opposite. Rather than releasing prisoners, Kabila is actually arresting more people. And he's also chose to appoint a government at this particular time when the church was supposed to find a consensus, and then forward maybe another government. So we see Kabila actually trying to block things. It's not really making things easy.
Not making things easy, but Michael, let me ask you, what do you think of that initiative by the church? Should the opposition, because the opposition is of two minds, should they be taking part in these talks to try to find a peaceful way out of this?
They are already taking part. They are already at a dialogue. The opposition have made significant amount of consensus. Now at the dialogue, most of the opposition leaders there now agree that Kabila can stay. However, what they want in return is for a short transition, but most importantly, a commitment from Kabila that is not going to use this particular time to change the constitution and to stay on. But so far, Kabila has refused to give guarantees that he will step down, even if he's allowed to stay. That is totally unacceptable. Not only that he was supposed to go, but he refuses, even if he's allowed to stay, to give guarantees that he won't change the constitution. And this is why the dialogue is not progressing now. The stalemate is at that level. Kabila has to agree that he needs to go, and we at the opposition is actually giving him a chance to live peacefully, but all they want is just some firm guarantees from him.
But you agree with him, you agree with continuing on with that dialogue?
The dialogue is actually ongoing. I think that at one point people are asking questions whether it is worth continuing with the dialogue when the person you are talking to is actually trying, rather than helping, rather than making significant concession, is actually trying to make things harder. So the reason it is questionable whether the opposition should continue, but the opposition want a peaceful outcome. They've made a lot of concession, but unfortunately, on the other side, what they've been met with is crackdown, arrest of opposition, shutting down of the medias, and more repression, and actually making things even worse and making the position at the dialogue even more difficult.
All right, Benedict, Kumbi and Joko, your reaction to what you heard Michael just say. Yeah, patience wearing thin with an opposition that feels as though Kabila is being intransigent, but we have to give it this dialogue a shot. You agree?
Well, I always ask myself a question. When we think about the way Mr. Kabila came into the Congo, this was a rebel. And the first time elections were held in Congo, actually the observator also said that there was some fraud. And in 2011, again, we had again some fraud, and even the Cardinal Mosengo, who's one of our leading figure in Congo, said that the results of these elections in 2011 were not reflecting the reality. So we have a person here who is problematic, who lacks legitimacy in order to lead the country. And so my question would be, why should we give a chance to a dialogue with somebody who is not legitimate in that country? And I think that a lot of the Congolese people have that feeling too, that they are not heard when they say that they don't want that person to lead the country, they don't want people to give him a chance to do so, and they even don't want the government he has chosen today, because this is something that is also problematic.
So you would walk away from the dialogue?
I would, sincerely, yes, because I think that some of the people now in the Congo who actually are called politicians are not never fulfill the mandate that they have. So I don't see why we should stay at a table and discuss with them. As I say, Mr. Kabila has a legitimacy problem. He's not the president of many Congolese people who are also saying that. And now we try to give him a chance for what? This is a person who chose to stay in power in his own capacity, so why should we deal with him? This would be my question.
All right, but let me bring in Pascal.
I know that people want a peaceful.
Let me bring in Pascal Kambale on this.
I know that people want to.
Pascal,
okay.
do you agree with what you just heard there from Benedict?
No, I understand where she comes from, and I sympathize with her position. But talking is all what we know better. We Congolese, we know we have been talking. We know how to talk in very, very harsh, very harsh conditions. We can talk even when war is going on, as we did in 2002 in some city. We can talk even with people who have been just been sent to jail, as we did with Lumumba after he was in jail by the colonial power at the table round in the 60s. We've been doing that. This is part of our DNA. We cannot run away from it. I completely agree with her. This guy, the president, we have never had a leader of such, exercising such level of contempt to his own people. The guy cannot even talk to his people. I mean, something very, very big happened on the 19th and the 20th of December. A sitting president who had been elected, whichever the conditions, but was elected 5 years earlier, had just lost his legitimacy and his legality. And he can't even address the nation. I mean, people can be killed by dozens in an area called Beni in eastern Congo. And you can hear UN, the State Department, Belgium, everybody talking about it. Not him. So for me, the talk, I think it's good because it's part of our DNA. But it's very important that one top priority for these talks is to let Kabila talk to his people, address his nation. What is the intention?
Julia Wono, the President Kabila, I think he's given one speech for all of 2016.
Absolutely. But to play a bit the devil's advocate, we have to try to understand why probably the incumbent president doesn't want to step down. There was a report recently by Reuters on how the Kabila family has been able to take the lead on most of the resources of the country. How the sister of the president is managing huge national companies in the mineral business, as well as his brothers, as well as his wife. So obviously, I was reading a report on foreign policy. A president in this case has absolutely no interest in stepping down, because what will come next obviously is justice, is probably prison, and also there is the war that hasn't been solved yet. So obviously he probably doesn't want and probably won't let go that easily.
Yeah, let me just bounce off of that. In the past few days, Bloomberg News, the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting, and NYU's Congo Research Group putting out a report that connects the dots, as Julie was saying, between Kabila, his family, and a vast business empire that's blossomed since he came to power. They own diamond mines that stretch more than 450 miles across the southwestern border with Angola. Family members also have stakes in banks, farms, fuel distributors, airline operators, a road builder, hotels, a pharmaceutical supplier, travel agencies, boutiques, nightclubs, another venture, even tried to launch a rat into space on a rocket.
You've said it all. And this also explains the frustration from the population, because how come one family can concentrate most of the wealth of the country only in the hands of one family?
So in the name of realpolitik, do you work out a deal whereby there is an exit door for someone like that? Or do you insist that everybody's accountable and you got to bring them to justice if there is ill-gotten gains?
I don't know. It's obviously to the Congolese people to decide, but to do that, there need to be election. There should be political sanction first. If the citizens agree with what the incumbent regime has brought to the country, then obviously the president will be elected. But if the citizens don't, obviously he has to go. That's how democracy works. And obviously the DRC is important for the region, because we've witnessed a few weeks ago countries in Western Africa continuing to pave the way for a continent more free, more respectful of democracy principles. And I think that wind of change has not come to Central Africa yet. We've witnessed this year, the Congo-Brazzaville with very unfair elections. We've seen the same in Gabon. The DRC, people were expecting a lot on the DRC because it's the biggest country of the continent, and obviously it acts as it would have been a good sign for the continent and for the region. But considering the situation, it's going to be very complicated. But what I would like, I think is important to insist on, is the international community not closing the eye on what's happening. Here we have the choice of real politics, as you're saying, to continue to work with a regime, a power, a family that indeed has helped many international powers have access to natural resources. But at the same time, you have another wealth, which is the youth, which is huge in terms of number, which is unemployed. There is social inequality. So who the international community is going to support. What is the bet that the international community is going to make? Well, we're yet to see. But one thing is sure is that democracy should prevail in Central Africa as well.
All right. You were saying it'll be up to the Congolese to decide on these thorny issues of finding the peace at what cost. It seems as though it's a daunting task in any case, or organizing a free and fair election. Just give you an example. In the city of Kananga in central Congo, there was fighting Tuesday between government security forces and a local clan militia that shut down the airport. It's unclear how much of that is local context, how much relates to events in Kinshasa. It highlights, though, just how many conflicts are still simmering inside the country with militias of various stripes. What is it? I read today there's 22,000 UN peacekeepers in Congo. And Michael Chimbangu, to the outside world, it seems like they're there forever.
Well, this is also partly because of the failed leadership in Congo. I mean, you have a leader trying to set a right in space while these people are suffering and dying, live in poverty. So you have a
But is it
disconnect.
possible to really organize a free and fair election in a place like DR Congo?
It is possible. The election in 2006 were by international standards deemed acceptable. So it's a question of will. We have a president here who has done his 2 constitutional terms, and now instead of leaving, is trying to block the electoral process and trying to stay on in power. This is just a move by Kabila to block things. But yes, it is possible. But he doesn't want to do that. All we see is excuses. All we hear, we see him doing things that prevent things from going forward. We saw, for example, in 2015, when the Electoral Commission published a calendar for the election, what followed afterward is that he initiated what we call a découpage in French, where the electoral boundary were withdrawn. So it actually, whenever there seems to be progress, what we see from Kabila is it comes out and adds something, add another obstacles. So we end up going nowhere. And that's why people are getting frustrated with a leader that it doesn't seem to understand really that people want him to leave. And the opposition has given him an option to live peacefully with this dialogue. But even with that, he still refuses to give guarantee. And then if you look at the history of Congo, we've had the first president of Congo removed by force. We had the second president of Congo, Mobutu, removed by force. We had the third president, Laurent Kabila, who was assassinated in office. At some point, the Congolese people get tired and they say, Kabila, look, we have a constitution. The constitution came after a dialogue. And we agree that from now on, because of our past, because of our bloody history, we're going to have a constitution that limits the mandate to 2 terms. Not only that, we are also going to say that that provision that say that the mandate is 2 terms can never be changed. So Kabila legally cannot run for another term. He has to step down, but he refuses to do so. So when you deny people, on top of that, he denies people the right to protest freely. But when you deny people the right to protest freely, what other option do you give them?
Benedict Kumbi and Joko, let me bring you in on this. Do you give Kabila the ability to, the guarantees by which he can walk out the door without being prosecuted, and therefore Congo does get to see that first ever peaceful handover of power, as was just highlighted by Michael? Or do you insist that he must be brought to justice and therefore perhaps he'll dig in further?
Yeah, your guest just said right now, I mean, he just recapped a little bit the history of Congo and all those leaders of Congo who were removed by force. And I have to say here that we need also to talk about the international community here, because they've been helping most of the time all those strong men, as Barack Obama called them, to come into power and also to remove some of them. So they also pushed for Kabila to be the president, as he called himself, of the Congo. And I think that we need also to remind people here that when we talk about the Congo, as your other guys said, we are talking about millions and millions of people who have been killed. And some of the people who are responsible of those killing, of this genocide in the Congo, are to be found in that government and maybe at the head of that government. So I think that we cannot just forget about those deaths. We can't just forget about the rapes that all more than 500,000 women in the Congo experience and just say we just leave it there because we need to have a peaceful transition here. I think that what the people of the Congo need is justice. And we need for once in our country, talk about justice, because since 1960, since the death of Lumumba, we are still awaiting justice in the Congo. And I think it's about time now to talk about those questions. It's about time to bring to trial people who have committed crimes in the Congo. We know that a lot of people in that government, that Kabila, the successive government that Kabila had, these are people who committed crimes in the Congo. So how can we imagine, just 1 second, that we will deal with those persons in order to have a peaceful transition? I think that the Congo deserves better. And the people of the Congo deserve justice, and they have to get it. And again, I think that people should really listen to the people of the Congo. The people of the Congo say, we don't want Kabila in power anymore. He should go.
Benedict Kumbi and Joko, I want to thank you. We would need 2 hours or 3 hours to discuss all there is to talk about. Let's do it again very soon. Thank you for being with us from Geneva. I want to thank Pascal Kambale in Dakar, Michael Chimbangu in London, Julia Wono. Stay with us. Our Media Watch segment is next.